Hi, this is Robin, and this video is about BVFTD, the disease my husband has been diagnosed with, and the effects that it has on relationships. So, going back to when he was first diagnosed, we almost divorced because it definitely affected our relationship, but it also affected relationships around us, and this is how. For us, when somebody's diagnosed with BVFTD, the parts of the brain that are affected are the frontal temporal lobe, and there lies things like the emotional connections and multitasking, executive thinking, things like that. Not necessarily intelligence or memories. Those things don't go right away. So in the very beginning, it felt like he stopped loving me. And it was almost like it was overnight, even though I know it wasn't. It felt like it. The interesting part is we would go to a party or an event or a cookout, and we would hang out with other people. And during that time, he would just show up. He would show up normal. He would joke and laugh and have intelligent conversation. And I just kept scratching my head going, what is going on? So long story short, I believe that what happened is people around me would look at me like, maybe it's her. Maybe she's the one with the problem. I felt like they would look at me and think I was just a big baby, whining, you know. So he doesn't love you as much. You're getting old. Look at you. You're not as cute as you used to be, you know. Poor Robin. It was so hard because I felt like people around me didn't believe me. And I felt like I didn't understand what was really going on. And it felt like I was losing my mind. Well, I've noticed over the course of time, talking to other caregivers across the board, we all kind of share that feeling. And I was thinking about that. Actually, I was talking to Dave about it this weekend. We had one of his buddies from high school come, he and his wife, and Dave sat throughout the weekend, his brain was clicking on all cylinders. He was constantly coming up with facts, memories. I was like blown away. They even looked at both of us and said, it's just like the old Dave. Well, that's hard, first of all, for Dave to hear because it's hard for him. Things do process slower and it's frustrating. And when somebody says that, it's like, oh. It was hard for me because it's not the same old Dave and they don't see it. So it's like, it's so hard. However, I get now why that happens. Dave said it to me. He said, I think it's because they and I don't interact on the same place, in the same place in my brain that you and I do. And I got thinking about that. That's exactly what happens. I expect that emotional connection. That's where we hung out all the time. He and I, we fell in love. So we have history there. That's a piece that's kind of missing for him. So it's awkward and weird, and our relationship is like built on some sort of a ghost idea for him. He doesn't get it, you know? For me, I just feel loss, a lot of loss. You know, I'll see him be fairly normal on any given day with somebody else because he's just exchanging information. And I just miss the man I had. So I see how relationships can easily fall apart. Starting with the main one in the house, the spouse, the FTD person, and the caregiver, that one, it's the biggest challenge, of course, right there. But I also see how all the others can fall apart because they don't see the same thing. That doesn't look like that big of a deal to them. It looks like you two are making a really big deal out of this, and it's not that bad. So I get it. Even doctors don't see it, because when Dave goes to the doctor, he shows up. He counts backwards from 100. He answers the questions pretty well. So yeah, it's tough. Tough for him, tough for me, tough for everyone. So I guess the biggest reason I wanted to do this video is just to say that's kind of what's happening in the household of an FTD person, especially if their caregiver is a spouse that had this huge, intimate, deep connection that was emotional. It's funny, I've not noticed Dave showing up like he does towards me with anybody else aside from back when we were around the grandkids. I think that he felt he didn't know what to do when he was around them sometimes. That's interesting to me. Everybody else, I think he could engage on an emotional, on an intellectual level, exchanging information without going that deep. But the grandkids, that was a different story. So, unfortunately, that's one of the relationships that's been affected. Our kids and our grandkids aren't in our life right now. So that's what I mean. This can take down families. And it's not just ours. It's others too. So my thought is, I just wanted to create this video to say, how can we help one another at our age, at this age? How can we help one another support each other and feel supported and cared for? And I know we can't replace the love of our spouse that has FTD, but how can we give each other enough support and love to get through it? Otherwise, I think the caregiver will become vulnerable and illness can come in, and some of the caregivers die first. And the government, I know, doesn't want that to happen because there aren't going to be enough caregivers for the people who need care. Already, it's a problem. So we need to take care of one another, support one another so that we can live through the big flux of illness that probably is going to show up. And if you're a caregiver, just remember that while it's hard to have that emotional connection missing, it's really an honor that we've had it, if that makes sense. It's like I'm so very thankful for those times. And I do miss him, but I have all of that with me all the time to remember. And we're making new memories now. They're a little different, but that's okay. So anyway, if you're a doctor or a social worker or someone, just remember those caregivers, they need your help getting through this. Sorry, cough. All right, that's all I have. And I hope you have a good week, and I'll talk to you later.